Hi, I'm Nina with Parish Learning Zone. Thank you for joining me today for our weekly Wednesday webinar. Today's topic is focus. We're going to talk about how to stay focused when you're just surrounded by distractions. I thought that would be a good topic for today to sort of round out and end our series that we've been discussing ways to stay motivated and to be able to accomplish tasks that need to be done during this unusual time where we're at home. But a lot of us still have things that we need to do. So today, as our last piece of that, we're going to talk about staying focused when you have a certain piece of work that needs to be accomplished. And these tips are specifically for kids and teens, but you'll find if you're a parent watching these that they're things that work really well for adults too. So feel free to use them yourself and model them for your children because I know if you're like me and you're working from home, we all need a little help staying focused and with the time management piece during this time where we're working and learning from home, and it's sometimes time feels a little different, and the days and the weeks and the months feel like they're going much slower, much faster than usual. So what I'm going to do today is talk about a 5-step process or 5 things to consider to help stay focused once you've chosen a task or you've been assigned a task that you need to work on. So the first step is that you want to anticipate any possible distractions. The thing is, we all have things that distract us when we are trying to get started on a task or that sort of pull us away from a task once we have begun. And a lot of times we can anticipate these distractions because 80% of the time they're always the same thing. So it helps if you really need to stay focused to anticipate what the distractions might be and perhaps even make a list of those distractions. So for example, if I know that I always get a text message while I'm trying to work, and these text messages, the sounds and visually seeing them pop up is something that distracts me because I feel like I need to respond right away, then when I really needed to get something done, then I would take my phone and put it somewhere where I could not see or hear it. I would put it on silent and I would move it away from me so that I couldn't see any notifications come through. Or there's also lots of apps online where you can block out certain things if you're having to work on the computer or if you're having to work with your phone nearby so that you're not getting these constant notifications and you don't have the temptation to check social media or see the pop-ups from those things, but emergency calls will still come through if needed. So it's good to think about those possible distractions and try to offset those. It can also be something like you know that you need a quiet environment to be able to work. And there's certain times of the day with everybody in the house where it's not quiet. And so you would think about ways that you can work anyway by maybe choosing a different time when it is more quiet and there's less going on in the house, or picking a place where there's less visual distraction or noise from the TV or people around doing other things. So the first step, again, is to anticipate possible distractions and figure out to the best of your ability how to get rid of those distractions. And then we've been talking about making a to-do list and scheduling time. So when you sit down to work, you should, as a second step, have a task selected that you're going to work on. And this task should be very specific. So you should have something picked out that you're going to do during that time, and it shouldn't be a big old thing. So it shouldn't be like, I have to work on studying for my history test, because that's a big thing. Hopefully you haven't waited till the day before, and you should be able to break that up into some manageable tasks. things that you can actually do, actions that you can take. So, for example, if you were trying to make that more specific, what you would do is you would say, I am going to take the time today to study for my history test by making a Jeopardy game out of my vocabulary terms. And so you would have a very specific thing that you were going to work on during the time, because if you don't make it specific enough, you won't know whether you accomplished it, and it will be hard to know how to get started. So you want to choose a specific task. If you have a big project or a big piece of studying or something large to read, you want to break it up, work from the deadline, break it up into smaller tasks. And we've been talking about this throughout this series. And you want to make sure that the task that you're going to start with is the easiest one, because sometimes the hardest part is getting started. And if you pick a more desirable way to get started that's easy and approachable, that eliminates that intimidation or anxiety that sometimes comes in when you're trying to get started on something big. So after you've chosen a specific task, you also want to pick out a block of time. So before this, we talked about making a schedule. And so you would look at that schedule and figure out where this task fit in to that schedule, and you would pick a time that you want to do it. And in order to do that, you have to think about how long it's going to take you to do the task that you've selected. So for example, with the Jeopardy game, I would think about how long it's going to take me to make the Jeopardy game based on how many vocabulary terms that I have. So say I decide it's going to take an hour. Then I need to think about where I am personally with my level of focus. So can I easily focus for 20 minutes? Can I easily focus for 10 minutes? Can I easily focus for 30 minutes, 45? Maybe I'm really great at staying focused and I can focus for the entire hour. Whatever it is, be honest and about where you're starting with your level of focus, and you want to break that task into segments based on how long you could focus. So if you can focus for 20 minutes easily, you would break the hour into 20-minute segments. So you would say, this is going to take me 3 20-minute segments, right? Or this is going to take me 2 half-hour segments, or I can do this all in 1 hour segment. And you're going to break up those segments with short breaks. So if you were doing 20 minutes, you would have a 20-minute working time, and where you worked on that specific task. You would take a 2 to 5 minute break, and then you would have a 20-minute working time, 2 to 5 minute break, 20-minute working time, and then you would take a longer break once you completed the task. And so you might have heard that the next step to being able to do this would be to set a timer. And you want to time your working time. You also want to time your breaks, because anyone who's been working and has taken a break knows that sometimes you get distracted during your break, and your 5-minute break ends up being an hour and 5-minute break. So we're trying to avoid that by timing them. So you would set your timer for your working period of time, whatever you had decided it would be. So if you were breaking up the hour into 20-minute segments, you would set the timer for 20 minutes. You would work on that specified task. And then when the timer rang, if you had worked without getting distracted for the entire time, then you would take your 2 to 5 minute break to go get a drink of water, talk to someone, answer a phone call, do whatever you needed to do. You would set the timer for your break, and then you would set the timer again for your next 20-minute segment of that 1 hour task. And then you're going to take the longer break when you're completely finished with the task. And I always think it's great during the longer break to do something that you enjoy, possibly something active that would help you continue to remain focused if you need to continue to work. So that might be doing some exercise. It might be going on a walk outside. It might be connecting with a friend on, FaceTime or something like that. Whatever's going to give you the energy to keep working if you need to after you take that longer break. And of course, if you need to keep working, you would need to time the longer break too to make sure it doesn't last forever. And then the fifth step to staying focused is that we are all going to fail in staying focused sometimes, because none of us are perfect, and there's a lot of distractions right now and always. So it's very important to reset and to forgive yourself if you lose your focus, but also to learn from that opportunity. Take that as an opportunity to learn from that mistake. So if you lost focus during that segment of time when you were supposed to be working, what caused you to lose focus? And then make note of that thing, whatever it was, so that you can try to avoid it in the future if possible, or choose a different time, or, figure out, is there a way that I can work around this? So that in the future, you can, maybe focus better despite whatever it was that was distracting this time. And then the other thing you want to do is reset the timer and just get started again with the work that you were trying to do. So just start over again, start fresh, and keep working towards accomplishing the task that you set out to accomplish. So as many of you know, I always work from home with young kids with me. I have a younger daughter that's in preschool, and I have an older daughter that's usually in school. And so now I know that, we're all at home, many of us working with our kids, and many of them finishing up their school year. And there's a lot of possible distractions and things that come into play in the home, and we're all doing our best to still complete our work and complete our school assignments during that time. So I hope these tips that I've sort of figured out over the years are helpful to you as a student or as an adult. And if you have any comments or questions, we would love to see those below the video here. And I appreciate so much you joining me today for our weekly Wednesday webinar. We will be doing another webinar each week on Wednesday, and next week we have some really exciting opportunities coming up with summer learning and summer camps all online. And so we're going to be discussing the topic of summer learning next week, and I hope that you'll join us. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next week.